safe arrival of 23 Malaysian participants of GSF. Britain will not pursue a visa deal with India. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. 23 Malaysian volunteers detained by Israeli forces during the global Sumud Flotilla GSF humanitarian mission to Gaza returned home safely last night. It was an emotional and heartfelt welcome at Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA Terminal 1. They were welcomed by Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan and hundreds of Palestine supporters who chanted Free, Free Palestine and Allahu Akbar while waving Palestinian flags. Family members and fellow activists embraced one another amid tears and prayers of thankfulness, marking the end of an anxious ordeal following the volunteers' detention by Israeli forces. The 23 Malaysian volunteers included Ustaz Muhammad, P. Rahmat, Hadiza Hilmi, Nur Hazwani, Farali, Zizi Kirana, Danish Nazran, Musa Nuwairi, Elia Balkis and Sul Aidil. Also participating in the mission were Adel Ariana, Haikal Abdullah, Muaz Zainal, Zul Fadli, Rushdi Ramli, Razali Awang, Nur Hilmi Ghani, Muhammad Asmawi and Nur Azman Ishaq. On 2nd October, the flotilla's vessels were intercepted in the red zone of the Mediterranean Sea and they were later taken to the port of Ashdod, Israel. They were subsequently released in stages starting from 4th October. All 23 Malaysian volunteers who were detained by the Zionist regime did not enter Israel illegally. They were instead intercepted in international waters while on their way to carry out the GSF humanitarian mission to deliver aid to Gaza. In this regard, Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan asked the public not to be influenced by baseless sentiments and accusations.
Mereka tak pergi ke Syria, mereka nak pergi ke Gaza, tetapi dikepung oleh tentera rejim Zionis Israel dan dibawa dan ditahan di Israel. Jadi jangan dengar cakap-cakap orang. Alhamdulillah, rakyat Malaysia, kita hanya membawa semangat Malaysia kita di bawah kerajaan Madani, pimpinan yang amat berhormat Perdana Menteri yang telah pun menjalankan kuasa diplomasi yang tertinggi dan kita telah dapat membawa balik anak-anak kita. Syukur Alhamdulillah.
He said at KLIA Sepang last night. Malaysians are urged not to stop fighting for the rights of the Palestinian people who have now been facing genocide in Gaza for 2 years. The Cinta Gaza Malaysia Chief Executive Officer Muhammad Nadir Al-Nuri Kamaruzaman said, although the humanitarian quest involving 23 Malaysians failed to breach the Israeli blockade, it was still a major success as it drew global attention to the plight of the Palestinians.
Walaupun kita tidak berjaya untuk break the siege, tetapi kita berjaya untuk break the silence. Dan buktinya adalah kehadiran kalian semua yang berada bersama-sama menyambut ketibaan kita di sini.
Meanwhile, the director of the Sumud Nusantara Operations Centre, Dr. Sani Arabi Abdul Alim Arabi, stated that the success of the GSF mission is a result of the unity of the hearts of all Malaysians who have come together in solidarity for Gaza.
Kita berjuang dengan kesatuan hati. Ingat betul-betul hari ini cukup untuk kita kata enough is enough. Dan hari ini kita pulang dengan membawa satu mesej yang sangat kuat, iaitu kita ada resepi yang tersendiri, iaitu kesatuan hati inilah yang menyebabkan gelombang dalam negara
gelombang Malaysia sampai ke peringkat dunia. Tekadkan hati, kuatkan semangat, kita tidak terhenti di sini. Free Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free!
There's no such thing as giving up when it comes to the fighting for the rights of the oppressed Palestinian people against the Zionist regime. On the basis, Malaysian activists involved in the GSF humanitarian efforts wish to remain engaged in related missions in the future.
Perjuangan ini adalah perjuangan untuk semua lapisan masyarakat, daripada kecil sampai besar, dan semua lapisan masyarakat itu ada peranan tersendiri yang mana kita mampu untuk beri something, kita bagi something. Sebab sebaik-baik manusia adalah manusia yang dapat memberi manfaat kepada manusia yang lain.
Saya terharu dengan apa yang sambutan daripada rakyat Malaysia.
Terima kasih kepada rakyat Malaysia. Teruskan perjuangan Free Palestine.
On another note, over 600 Malaysians gathered to welcome back the volunteers of the GSF mission who have just returned. The atmosphere at KLIA Terminal 1 last night was filled with emotions of pride.
Kesedaran semua rakyat Malaysia. Sebelum ni mereka mungkin tak macam ni, tapi lepas apa yang dapat diperjuangkan oleh para influencer, and akan datang beberapa gelombang lagi. So saya rasa dia dah memberi impak yang besar kepada semua rakyat Malaysia.
Saya gembira sebab diorang selamat sampai ke Malaysia. Tunggu untuk adil lah. So saya memang gembira. Masa diorang kena tangkap, saya susah hati lah. Saya pernah beritahu sama anak. Lepas tu kami ada follow up dalam news. Lepas tu surat khabar. Saya ni bawa sama anak datang untuk bagi reality tengok.
News concerning GSF is ongoing. Communication Minister Datuk Fahmi Fadil presented new mobile phones to 23 Malaysian volunteers who participated in the GSF humanitarian mission to Gaza as a gesture of appreciation for their contributions. Datuk Fahmi stated that the contribution was intended to facilitate communication and personal matters upon their return home, while enabling the volunteers to continue sharing their experiences and insights from the mission more effectively. He said the gesture reflected the government's appreciation for volunteers who represented Malaysia in the GSF mission and provided regular updates throughout their time on board. On a different note, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has called on all Malaysians to come together for the Himpunan Solidariti Bersama Gaza rally at Axiata Arena, Bukit Jalil today at 8 p.m. In a heartfelt message posted on Facebook, Datuk Seri Anwar said the rally aims to unite Malaysians across all backgrounds in support of the Palestinian struggle and to honour the 23 Malaysian humanitarian activists who participated in the GSF mission. Prime Minister expressed confidence that the spirit of justice and peace beats strongly in the heart of every Malaysian. The people are urged to unite and raise their voices for a free, dignified and sovereign Palestine. We have just received this update. Malaysia has strongly condemned Israel's interception of humanitarian vessels carrying aid to Gaza, including Malaysians on board. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says the Freedom Flotilla Coalition and 1,000 Madlins to Gaza vessels were illegally intercepted by Israeli forces in international waters around 10:50 a.m. Malaysian time. He described the action as provocative, unlawful and a violation of international law, calling it inhumane and an insult to basic human rights and universal dignity. Datuk Seri Anwar demanded the immediate release of all Malaysian activists and volunteers, and he said the Madani government will do everything possible to safeguard the lives of Malaysians involved in the mission and will work with partner countries and international organizations to secure their swift release. plans to eliminate several government programs. The second day of the latest round of Gaza ceasefire talks between the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas and Israel, mediated by Egypt and Qatar, concluded on Tuesday in the Egyptian Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. The talks were described as difficult and complicated, with Hamas warning Israel not to undermine the peace efforts. According to sources close to negotiations, the second day of this round of talks focuses on key issues, including Israeli troop withdrawal routes. Hamas insisted that any release must occur simultaneously with a complete Israeli military withdrawal from the Gaza Strip and demanded international guarantees for a permanent ceasefire. The technical teams are currently examining detailed maps submitted by the Israeli delegation, outlining the areas from which the Israeli army would withdraw. In a statement, Hamas spokesman Fauzi Barhum said the movement is committed to overcoming all obstacles to reach an agreement that fulfills the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Egyptian mediators are intensifying efforts to help bridge differences between the parties. More than 67,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza in the 2 years since fighting erupted on 7th October 2023. Statistics alone cannot capture the human suffering, but they reveal the scale of catastrophe in a densely populated coastal territory. Data released on Tuesday by Gaza's health authorities shows that Israeli military operations over the past 2 years have killed 67,173 Palestinians, including 20,179 children, 10,427 women, and 4,813 elderly people. This is the first time the authorities have published an overall death toll broken down by age and gender. Before the conflict, Gaza's population was estimated at 2.3 million. This means roughly 1 in every 33 residents, or about 3% of the pre-war population, has been killed. With over 20,000 children among the dead, the figures suggest an average of 28 children have died every day during the past 2 years. Israeli attacks on medical facilities have forced 25 of the enclave's 38 hospitals out of service. The remaining 13 are only partially operational under dire conditions. Now, out of 157 primary health centers, 103 have been destroyed, with the remaining 54 operating only partially. President Donald Trump said that his administration plans to eliminate a number of government programs as a result of the ongoing shutdown. He also mentioned that he would share information regarding job reductions in the next 4 to 5 days.
We have a lot, I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say, but because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse.
Hundreds of thousands of U.S. federal workers have been ordered not to report to work, while others have been told to stay on the job during the U.S. government shutdown, which started on 1st October. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russian forces captured almost 5,000 square kilometers in Ukraine in 2025, and that Moscow retained complete strategic initiative on the battlefield. He visited a church at St. Petersburg, where he also met with leading military figures. Later, Putin held a meeting with Russia's top military commanders and said Ukrainian forces were retreating in all sectors of the front. He said Kiev was trying to strike deep into Russian territory, but it would not help it to change the situation in the more than 3-year-old war. Russia's defense ministry reported the capture of 2 more villages along the front, which Ukraine's top commander says now extends over 1,250 kilometers. Chief of the General Staff of Russia's Armed Forces told the meeting of top commanders that Russian forces were advancing in practically all directions. Britain will not pursue a visa deal with India. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he aims to deepen economic ties with the country following this year's trade agreement. Starmer begins a 2-day trip to India today, bringing a trade mission of businesses to promote the trade deal, which was agreed in May, signed in July, and due to come into effect next year. Visas had blocked up previous efforts to seal a trade deal, and that having reached an agreement which had no implications. Britain and India signed a free trade agreement in July during a visit by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, sealing a deal to cut tariffs on goods from textiles to cars and allow more market access for businesses. In Indonesia, rescue teams have ended their search at the site of last week's school collapse on Java Island, confirming 67 people dead in what's now the country's deadliest disaster this year. The multi-story Islamic boarding school collapsed on 29 September as more than 170 students gathered for afternoon prayers. After 9 days of search and rescue, officials say all rubble have been cleared and no more victims are expected to be found. Basarnas Chief Muhammad Shafi confirmed the operation's end, while Operations Director reported 171 people evacuated, 67 dead, including 8 body parts and 104 survivors. Only 17 bodies have been identified so far. Authorities say early findings point to substandard constructions as possible cause. Families had allowed the use of heavy machinery last week after hopes of finding survivors faded beyond the 72-hour mark. Experts say the tragedy has again exposed Indonesia's poor building safety standards, following another collapse last month in West Java that killed 3 people. The government has pledged a full investigation to determine what caused the deadly school collapse. Torrential rains triggered by Typhoon Matmore flooded parts of Hanoi on Tuesday, the latest in a series of deluges that have inundated the Vietnamese capital over the past month as a run of storms has swept across the country's northern regions. Heavy downpours flooded major roads, leaving motorbikes and cars stranded and forcing residents to wade through calf-deep water. Inner city districts have been particularly affected, with drainage struggling to handle the volume of rain. Several schools in the capital closed or shifted to online teaching, while several flights from and to Now Bai International Airport have been delayed or rescheduled. The weather agency has forecast rain and thunderstorms in Hanoi throughout Tuesday morning, warning of potential floods in low-lying areas. It also said that up to 3 more storm systems were expected to hit the country before the end of 2025. At least 4 construction workers were missing after a building under renovation partly collapsed in central Madrid on Tuesday. The 3 men and 1 woman were reported missing by the construction company in charge. Police and firefighters were using drones and sniffer dogs to search for the missing inside the building located near the Spanish capital's Opera House and the Royal Palace. A significant amount of rubble has collapsed in the building, and authorities said it will take a long time to clear, giving a time frame of not just hours but probably several days. 2 people were lightly injured, while a 3rd person was taken to a hospital with a broken leg. The partial collapse of the 5-story building occurred inside, leaving its facade intact. A construction worker was pumping concrete into the building's lower floors and was outside when the collapse occurred. He said he saw a large cloud of dust and immediately sprinted away. According to information on its website, the building was being converted into a hotel by developer Rehabilita. London police have busted a major international phone theft ring, arresting 46 people in the largest ever crackdown on mobile phone crime. Authorities say the gang was behind up to 40% of all phone thefts in London, smuggling more than 40,000 stolen phones to China. Investigation began last year after police discovered a shipment of 1,000 iPhones at a warehouse near Heathrow Airport bound for Hong Kong. Police say the group targeted Apple devices, earning up to £300 per phone, which could fetch as much as $5,000 in China's black market. Commander Andrew Featherstone said the operation dismantled networks from street thieves to international smugglers. Mayor Sadiq Khan called the trade industrial scale theft and urged phone makers like Apple, Samsung to do more to stop stolen devices from being reused.
Stop! Face away from me!
Tesla unveiled more affordable versions of its best-selling Model Y SUV and its Model 3 sedan as the electric vehicle maker seeks to reverse falling sales and waning market share amid rising competition. Its CEO Elon Musk has for years promised mass-market vehicles, for which he said late last year that the vehicle would be priced below the key threshold of $30,000. Musk initially promised that production of the vehicle would start by the end of June. But Tesla only made what it called first builds of the car in July, adding that it would be available for customers sometime in the last 3 months of the year. Tesla has already been grappling with the slowing sales of its aging lineup, as competition has grown rapidly, especially in China and Europe, where Musk's far-right political views have also undermined brand loyalty. Affordable cars will be the key to Tesla delivering 20 million vehicles over the next decade, one of the several operational and valuation milestones set by the company's board as part of its proposed $1 trillion pay package for Musk. Three scientists from Britain, France, and the United States have won this year's Nobel Prize in Physics for groundbreaking work that turned quantum theory into real-world applications. Britain John Clark, Frenchman Michael Devore, and American John Martins were honored for demonstrating how the strange rules of quantum mechanics can be observed on a microscopic scale big enough to hold in your hand. The experiments in the 1980s revealed quantum tunneling, where particles can pass through barriers instead of bouncing back in superconducting circuits. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said their discovery opened doors to next-generation technologies such as quantum computers, cryptography, and sensors. All three laureates are affiliated with the University of California, while Devore also holds an emeritus post at Yale University. Next up in sports, Djokovic overcomes physical issue to beat Muna.
Padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
Florian Thauvin joins Le Bleu as France train ahead of the 2026 World Cup qualifier against Azerbaijan without Kylian Mbappe and Ibrahima Konate. Mbappe arrived at France's national team training base on Tuesday, but left without participating in the session, casting fresh uncertainty over his availability for the World Cup qualifier match against Azerbaijan on Friday. The 26-year-old, who twisted his ankle in the 81st minute of Madrid's 3-1 La Liga win over Villarreal on Saturday, has now sat out 2 straight practices despite initial optimism from coach Didier Deschamps. Deschamps had downplayed the injury as a minor on Monday, allowing Mbappe to travel from Madrid despite missing the previous day's group workout. Le Bleu are top of the group with 2 wins from 2 so far in qualifying. They host Azerbaijan on Friday at PSG's Parc des Princes Stadium before travelling to Iceland 3 days later. The 2018 World Cup winners and runners-up 3 years ago could also qualify with victories against Azerbaijan and Iceland if Iceland draw with Ukraine. Former world number 1 Novak Djokovic advanced to the quarterfinals of the Shanghai Masters on Tuesday, defeating Spain's Jean Munas 6-3, 5-7, 6-2 in a 2-hour and 41-minute match. The 38-year-old Djokovic, moving to quarterfinals of the tournament for the 11th time, battled through physical discomfort in his left leg but managed to secure the win. Djokovic had to take a medical time out after picking up the injury during the first set of an encounter that stretched to 2 hours and 41 minutes. He also struggled with the heat and medics checked his vitals at one point as the temperatures stayed near 30 degrees Celsius and humidity hovered around 80%. Fourth seed Djokovic, who had got the first break of the match to go 3-1 up in the opening set before he hurt his leg, could not break Munas' serve during the second set, which the world number 41 won after a 75-minute battle. The 24-time Grand Slam winner bent over in exhaustion and needed more medical attention before clinching the decisive third set with 2 well-timed breaks. He will next face Belgium's Zizouberg as he continues his pursuit of the title. Second-seeded Iga Swiatek of Poland breezed to a 6-1, 6-1 win over Czech Maria Bouzkova in a second-round match at the Wuhan Open. Swiatek dominated Bouzkova's serve, winning 31 of 51 points and breaking her 6 times in a match that ran 79 minutes. Placing in Wuhan for the first time, Swiatek showcased her dominance early, racing to a 4-love lead within minutes. Despite a brief lapse in her serve that allowed Bouzkova to break once, the 6-time Grand Slam champion quickly regained control. The Polish star's precision and consistency left Bouzkova struggling throughout, with Swiatek winning key points in long rallies and closing out both sets decisively. The 24-year-old is now 2-love against Bouzkova, while the Czech Republic player is now love 7 for the year against top 10 players. Swiatek is the number 2 player in the WTA rankings and one of the game's most consistent players. But even the 6-time Grand Slam champion knows there's a far better chance of losing than winning a title. She has played in 17 events this year and come away with 3 crowns: Wimbledon, Cincinnati and Seoul. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, 23 Malaysian GSF volunteers return home safely. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat, Disantuni. Thank you for watching.